It's got to be about you. That's the center point. That's the starting point. People got to believe in what you are doing. You got to prove to them that you believe in it, and they will follow.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Struggle to Strength podcast, your source for real life application on how to turn your struggles into strengths in all things mind, muscle, and money. This was a cool conversation because Kraig Kaiser, who we have on today, kind of just fell into entrepreneurship and specifically the MileHigh Meet Greet, which just kind of like blew up because of the person that he is, which is a really cool story. And so he kind of talked us through like how that came to be, what he learned along the way. And you can tell just by talking to him, he's encountered a lot of obstacles as an entrepreneur, but he's also gotten through them. So it was cool to hear how he did that in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It was, really cool to talk to a guy who's like doing it right now, you know?
Yeah. And it grew from like 25, this event that he threw grew from like 25 people or something like that to hundreds of people. And they kept on listening to what people wanted and adding more things. And so it was a great conversation about what it takes to be an entrepreneur, how to be a more successful entrepreneur. And then at the end, he gave away like 3 really important qualities that he has attributed to his success along the way, which you can already tell by talking to him, he embraces those qualities very well.
100%.
Yeah. So this was a great conversation from someone who's like actually doing it, not someone who's already made it and, has these wise words of wisdom. I think sometimes it's nice to be able to talk to someone who's like currently struggling through their own challenges and adversities in a way that we can better understand in our current level of entrepreneurship. So this was a great conversation. Kraig's a great guy. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And he's got some really cool stuff going on. So take notes. We'll see you guys inside.
I do things a little bit different than a lot of people. And one of the things I really pride myself on is I try to do things that are unique and different.
Yes.
And I think that interests people a lot. I've got a lot of friends that are very successful, and as am I, and a lot of people, of course. And success comes in a lot of different forms. And you can look at it money-wise, finances, investing. You can look at success by having a family and kids. Success can be a social circle. Success can be mental health, can be physical health, can be doing the competitions like you do, Josh. Success can come in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways that I look at success is, mental health is a lot of it, in my opinion. And I think that's huge. I really do. And I preach that to myself a lot. And I've got a lot of friends and over the years that have come with problems and whatnot. And you always have friends that come to you and they want to lean on you and whatnot. And it's wonderful. That's a great social circle and whatnot. And in the end, you do want to help them. And a lot of it's all mental. It's all about visualizing positivity through a difficult time. We all get in situations and it might just be a relationship. It might be a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a business thing, and the world is crumbling, or friends didn't invite you to something, whatever it is. And the world in your mind is just crumbling. And you got to pull them out of that and go, there's so much more to life than just one little thing. And that's just one thing that I operate by, is by looking at the big thing. I have a lot of stresses in my life, and I think a lot of people do. I'm not unique to that by any means, but I try to look at the big picture and I try to stay positive. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people see with me is I handle stress really, really well, especially in the events I do, which we'll talk about that here in a moment. But, I go to my events and I handle a very large event with issues and whatnot, and I handle it with very little stress. And that's just about positivity, visualizing that, looking at the big picture and finding what works and moving forward in a stressful situation. So I try to do things differently.
I think that's and I'm really interested to learn more about the events, because I think that especially in high pressure situations, people can put excessive amounts of pressure on themselves to perform or to achieve an expectation that they've set for themselves that they may not have communicated with other people. So I'm curious. I want to learn more about these events, and I want to learn, when you are going through them, when things go wrong, How do you manage that stress so well that your body doesn't ultimately go into that super overwhelmed sense of urgency, rushed fight or flight state where we're not thinking clearly and logically, but we let those emotions take over and we end up putting more stress on ourselves than actually is needed because all we need to do is take action on one thing. But I know I deal with this a lot. It's like urgency, urgency, urgency. I have these expectations that I haven't communicated with people that I need to fulfill. And everything is going to come crumbling down and crashing down. And that's, I think you're talking about mental health. You're talking about mindset. That I think is something that a lot of people struggle with, myself included. And under the premise of an event, when there's a lot of things happening and a lot of people are there, that's a lot of pressure.
It is. And it's a time frame. It's a finite time. You look at the event that I do, for example, is the main one I do is a 3-day event now. It used to be a 1-day event, it's a 3-day event, and it has grown to be much bigger. And I've added so much content to it, and we'll definitely cover that here in a moment. But yeah, when you're talking about the lead up, and it's 6 months of work, 3 months of work, and you're leading up to 2 months and 1 month and all this stuff. And you get down to that finite time, like you talk about, like you made a mention that everything comes crumbling down because something's not going right. A lot of it is stepping back and looking at the big picture. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to compartmentalize. I know a lot of people talk about that, but as I've gotten older and as I've done more and more stuff, I've learned to compartmentalize. You take one stress of something and you put it to the side so that you can focus on something else, because it's about focus, especially in an event. So, I set up the event, 5-6 days in advance, and I'm setting it up and we're leading up, and things don't always go right. Things don't come through. People don't show up. Sponsors don't show up. Vendors, whatever it might be, issues. And you've got to be able to overcome those. But to overcome them is to not focus on the negative all the time. Focus on the positive. And I think that's a lot. What people do a lot is they focus on all the negative, and then that just taints the rest of whatever you're doing. That can be said as well in relationships. Don't bring baggage from a previous relationship into your current one, because you're just going to repeat the same processes again. Mm-hmm. And I really preach that. I'm engaged. I have a fiance, and we talk about that a lot. Actually, it's very important in anything in your life, especially relationships, business relationships, personal relationships, and for what I do, events. Same.
I have a real life. Sorry, John. I have a real life example of this that I'm willing to share here. Is something that I noticed I do every now and then in relationships, and something that I've been working on. Is if I get caught up in this cycle of things going wrong, it's really easy to get caught up in the mindset of it seems positive to think, okay, how can I not do things wrong? Okay, like what can I not do wrong? Like, how do I not hurt this person's feelings? How do I not make this? And your brain doesn't recognize that. So then I'm thinking about, okay, hurting this person's feelings, how do I not do that? Rather than, how do I make this person feel good about themselves? How do I help this person today? And that, I think, is what you're talking about with the positivity, is not being inherently negative, and compartmentalizing and putting those things aside. And that simple reframe for me, especially in relationships, has made a huge difference of, if I feel like I had hurt someone's feelings, I'm not like, okay, how do I not hurt this person's feelings anymore? It's like, what can I do right now to help this person feel better? That's the positive thinking, because otherwise your brain has to say, okay, hurt this person's feelings, did something wrong. Now we have to do the opposite of that. And that's a lot of brain power and computing, rather than just saying, okay, what's the positive thing that we can focus on right now? That's a much shorter circuit to connect.
Yeah. Very, and I feel like, so when you're talking about like, how do I stop hurting this person's feelings, for instance, what you're doing is like, there's kind of like, you're minimizing the bad. Whereas if you just start doing the good, you've completely eliminated the bad at all. It's like, it's from like -100 to 0 instead of from -100 to -30, mm-hmm. Why would you not? Yeah. But that's like hard.
Yeah. And
very true.
I imagine if you're hosting an event and like a vendor doesn't show up, you're like, shoot, this vendor doesn't show up. You know, what am I going to do? I need this. And you know, all these things could go wrong. You can just focus on one positive thing of how you can approach that situation, compartmentalize like you were talking about. And then like the concept of taking one stress of something and putting it to the side makes a lot of sense in that situation. Like you're not stressed about the things that could go wrong. Focus on one thing that you can do right now to make things better.
Very true. And with an event, there's so many aspects to it that I think a lot of people don't realize. And I'll touch on what people look at an event and they think that it's so easy to do. And it's not by any means. And a part of that is the way that I focus on the positivity, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to focus on the positivity, especially for an event, when you do an event that everybody wants to be a part of, an event that makes everybody happy. So that's taking it to the next step for me. And that is, I try to do events they're community events, and I do them for the community, but to make people happy. And in order to do that, you got to have a content that makes them happy. You got to have substance behind it. Because when people come to my event, people are happy. They are. And part of that is the energy that you put out there. And that goes back to the positivity. People will crave you more if all you do is put out positivity. Then they crave what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. And when they crave you, then they're wanting to come see you. They come to you happy most of the time. And I think that's why a lot of people may come to me, or be it anybody that may have an issue, and they're looking for the positivity. They're looking for the positive spin on things. And it's not hard to do all the time when there is a lot of good out there, if we just separate the bad and just focus on what's good. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Practicing gratitude.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. And, I'm trying to get this into an event structure here, obviously, guys, in the line of talk here on positivity and mental and everything. And we should probably go into events and whatnot.
Yeah, I would love to learn a little bit more about the events that you're hosting and kind of how you go about planning and structuring for those, and getting through the challenges for sure.
How do you make sure events are full? That seems like a pretty big, a pretty important thing.
And
right?
What is
that
full?
The most important thing?
And what is full?
Yeah,
that's a good question. That's a very good question. And a lot of it is I go into these events having expectations, of course, leading up to them. And the events that I'm talking about here that I know a lot of your listeners don't know about, it's called the MileHigh Meet and Greet. All right. Let me give you some back history on this. This is an event I started in 2005. And I always say the funny tagline is, how did I start it? I was walking down the street, tripped over a crack, and fell into this event. That's literally almost how it happened. I wasn't the one that started it. It was another guy on Facebook. No, I'm sorry, not on Facebook. This is pre-Facebook that was online. There's a website called Wake World, and there's message forums. And this is early on in the years of wakeboarding and all that. And in Colorado, it wasn't very cohesive. People didn't know each other compared to California, Florida, Texas. Everyone there knew each other, big communities. And so there's a website called Wake World, and they have those message forums, and everybody's talking on the message forums, and they knew each other. But us Colorado people that posted on there, there's a guy named Mike and Chris, and I didn't know these people. And so finally a guy posts up a thread that says, hey, attention Colorado wakeboarders. So I clicked into it, and it says, hey, let's all meet each other so we can get together and ride together all summer long. And I literally went, I'm in. That's it. And the guy called it a meet and greet. I threw on Mile High purely for shits and giggles because we're in the Mile High City. We all met at Chatfield Reservoir down in southern Denver Metro. And there was 25 of us, and we all kind of hung out on my boat. So the next year, a thread popped up, Mile High Meet and Greet, and everyone's like, hey, I'm in. And everyone starts getting a hold of me going, hey, Kraig, are we doing this again? And I'm thinking, why are you getting a hold of me? I just showed up for the thing. And they were like, yeah, but you were kind of the main guy and everything. So we put on an event 2006, then did 2007, 2008, and it started getting rolling and whatnot. And so that's how cool. I pretty much got into doing events. And I think a lot of the reason why it got going so well was, one, there was a need for it. And two, the energy I put out with it. People enjoyed all the energy that I put into it. And so that's how it grew and it grew and it got bigger and bigger. And I've added things to it. And I always tell people I'm a single guy. I don't have all the answers. So the majority of the ideas that have happened with this event have been ideas of other people. I just take those ideas, pick and choose, and I run with it. And it's about the energy and the positivity, having something that people get excited about. And the only way to do that is by encouraging, selling it, and putting out that good energy. I always tell people you can't do a community event if you do douchebag things or bad things or screw people over. If you keep things above board and you do things for the community and you do things right and positive, people will follow you. And I think that is what has grown the MileHigh Meet and Greet over the years. And so you asked the question, what's full? That's a great question. The first year we had 25 people. The second year we had 50. The third year we had 100. Then we had 150. Then we had 250. Then we had 300. Then we had 500. Now we're hitting 1,000 every year. And
damn.
To me, is that full? Yes. Is it as much as I want it to be? Not by any means. And that's the carrot that I'm always chasing, is how to get those numbers higher. And the only way to do that is to bring content that people want. And so the meet and greet started out as the need for people to meet each other and ride together. Have you guys ever heard the term find a third, be a third?
No.
Okay. So in Colorado, in a lot of states, in order to wake surf, wakeboard, do any water sports, you have to have a driver, you have to have a spotter, and you have a rider. So there's 3 people, right? 3 people. So there's a lot of people that post up. There's 2 guys that want to go riding in the afternoon, but they're like, we need a third. So it's called find a third, be a third. And I've got a really funny story for you guys about that here in a little bit about what happened recently. And it never dawned on me until a couple of years ago. But anyway, so that's where it all grew out of, was this find a third, be a third thing. And so we've grown the community. People come out, they hang out. It used to be a 1-day event. And then it went to a 3-day event because we wanted to incorporate camping. So everyone gets there on Friday night. The event happens on Saturday. Everyone stays Saturday night to Sunday. Everyone rides on Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So then that's great. And
we got to do this.
I'm in next year.
Need to come out.
But be your third brother. I got you.
Hell yeah, dude.
You guys will come out. You guys will love it. I've expanded the event to way more than wakeboarding and way more than wake surfing, because you have to. Wakeboarding is very, very, very niche. Okay. And so is wake surfing. It has expanded the scene, like I said a moment ago. It really has, but it's still a niche industry. It really is. It's not to the masses overall, but music is to the masses. Camping is to the masses. So we've brought in camping and we've now brought in music. So over the years, people wanted more. So I brought a DJ out and we did DJ, and we do giveaways, and we do a raffle where we give away $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 worth of stuff, which people love. Yeah. And it used to be in the early years when I had 200 people, everybody walked away with something for free. Now we're at 1,000 people. It's tough for every single person to walk away with something for free. But so I bring in other stuff. So now we bring in 3 nights of concerts. So we're doing something that I think is unique. It probably is being done other places in the US, maybe. I've tried to do the research. So if anybody watches this podcast has any feedback on that, I'm always open to hearing about what else is out there. So I set up a concert stage at the edge of a large lake, and we do 3 nights of concerts. Now that stage is set up 125 feet off the water, faces the water. So you can watch from the center of the stage on land, or you can be in a boat or on a kayak or whatever you want to do, hang out on the beach and watch concerts and listen. But it's not just that. I put the stage 125 feet off the water. And then what I do is I do premier spots out in front stage, on the side, out in front. There's a dance area in the middle. And then on the sides, we do 4 spots that are premier spots. They're designed to have toy haulers back in, drop their back decks, which are elevated, a toy hauler. And now you have a camp spot at water's edge, out in front of the concert stage for 3 nights of concerts at a large lake. It's a very unique setup.
That's awesome. So it seems like the number one most important thing is just understanding, and this is like always a recurring theme, understanding like who your customer is, who's coming, and like what is attractive to them, and then just making something that those people are really going to want. That's probably like number one.
That is correct. That's correct. There's a recipe to that, and that is number one. And there's more to this recipe. Community events are hard to run. Everybody tried, not to say everybody, but a lot of people try to start community events, and they go for the first year and the second year and they die out. And it happens a lot. In my first few years, when I was approaching my sponsors, I'd go to my sponsors, the boat dealerships, and I'd walk in going, hey, my name's Kraig Kaiser. Hey, I'm starting this event, blah, blah. And the first thing they would do is they would just roll their eyes. Okay, another person wanting something free, And I get it, because sponsors, everybody gets beat down for free stuff all the time. Same thing with product for your competition. All those companies are getting beat down for free product. Everybody is. But when you have an event that goes 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, it wasn't about the fourth year that my sponsor started going, wait, you're back again? Like, this has got staying power. You've got more attendance. Now you've got something that works. And so you just made a comment, Travis, listen to your attendees or your clients. And for me, the attendees are my clients. I listen to what they want over the years. Like, camping wasn't my idea. Talking to the crowd by the sponsors, not my idea. The raffle, not really my idea. These are ideas that other people came to me and said, we would like to see that in the event. So I integrated that. And then over the years, everyone goes, hey, we'd love music. So I brought a DJ out and they loved it. Then the next year, I brought a DJ again. Then the next year, we set up a flatbed trailer. I built a back wall, rented some lights, brought out a PA system, and we hired a couple bands and a rapper to come out and play. And people loved it. And so that's what parlayed us into bringing out a production company out of Denver. And they bring out a huge concert stage and they set it up. And people are in awe of this. People love music, they love camping, and it goes hand in hand with boating, which goes along with everybody. So if you give what people want, they'll come out and attend and support. And a lot of that is to put out the energy. I go to the boat show, and I've always had a booth at the Denver Boat Show. And I go out and I sell, and people come by and I tell them about it and I talk about it. It's about me selling my energy and what we do. And people get so excited about it. Then they come out and they're just blown away by what we've built over the last 18 years. So they love it.
Is this all word of mouth, or do you do other like marketing types of things?
It's primarily word of mouth, but it's through Facebook as well. So we do a lot of Facebook ad campaigns, a lot of advertising through Facebook. But the biggest thing is through my Facebook page, which I have a reach of about 5,000, just about. It's everybody else resharing it, and inviting their friends. It's about community. And years ago, and this happened, 4 or 5 years ago, I had this couple that comes to the meet and greet every year. And one year I was there, and it's tough to meet people. I've got 1,000 people coming, and everybody wants to see, where's Kraig, right? Hey, where's Kraig? I want to see Kraig. That's where I get that people come and they crave you. You've got to be the center point. It's tough to delegate or to do a community event and go, I want to come up with the idea and then have other people do it. That's hard to do for a community event. That works for business. That works for when you build a product. You delegate someone to do your advertising, someone to do this, someone to do that. When it comes to a community event, it's got to be about you. That's the center point. That's the starting point. People got to believe in what you are doing. You got to prove to them that you believe in it, and they will follow. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And so we had this couple that came to me. Next thing I know, one year they showed up with all this, crew of 10 or 12 people. And I have a great photo of this. I really need to frame it. But, and they came and they go, we all met right here at the MileHigh Meet and Greet. We're all best of friends now. We all do everything together. Our families do everything together. And we're all a great group. And every one of us came to the MileHigh Meet and Greet. And that's where we all met. And it's stories like that that make community events all worth it. It's wonderful to hear that. And that's what I get out of it. So.
Yeah, that makes the biggest difference. And, when it comes down to it, most of what we're talking about, most of what you're talking about today is bringing people things that they want. I think a lot of times when people may go to start build a community or build an event or try to create something, it can be hard to get that out of people. Like hard to encourage people to be sharing what they want. It's not as easy as saying, hey, what do you want? Like, Well, I don't know. I don't really know what I need help with. I don't know what I would like to see. I don't know what is possible here. So how do you go about, and I know this for you started very organically, how do you go about continuing to facilitate that sharing of information among the attendees and with the people who are actually running the event like yourself?
It's a great question. And I don't have any avenue that's dialed in by any means. It just comes back to listening to what you hear the most. I get a million suggestions, and I tell everybody, I'm a single guy. Give me your ideas. I may not take them all. And I take no offense to anything because I don't have all the ideas. And I think that's the only part of the delegation for this event that I'm really big on is putting your own ego in check. I don't come out and try to push people around and bully like I have all the ideas, blah, blah, blah. I want to listen to what you guys want. And I listen to a lot of people, and everybody brings their opinions to me. And a lot of them are, a little far-fetched and whatnot. You're always going to have it. But I never want to stifle that, because every once in a while, there's a diamond in the rough there. They go, you know what? That's a really good idea. And as far-fetched as something might be, if you can actually develop it and make it work, it might be the next big hit for your event. For example, doing concerts at Water's Edge. Nobody that I know is doing that. And it's been a huge event. It's been a huge aspect of this event and growing it, because it's also brought in all the camping scene. So we advertise to campers and whatnot, trying to bring different groups together, of course, which helps build the boating scene, because that's where it all started. I mean, this event started as a boating event, help out the sponsors, bring the community together, find a third, be a third, find your homies to ride with. That's where it all started. But we're also here to help the scene and build it by bringing a camping scene in. Now we're introducing the campers into wake surfing and going, hey, they might want to buy a boat too now. And so by me helping out the sponsors, now I get funding to do an event like this. And once I get money in and funding, now I can do things bigger and bigger and bigger. And people love that. But, last year's event, I didn't have this idea. Some of my attendees did a slip and slide off the beach down in the river.
That's awesome.
And it was wonderful. Now, was it risky? 100%. Would I do it forever? Probably not. But you should have seen the joy in everyone's faces. We got video and pics, and the smiles are from ear to ear, and people love it. And that's the type of stuff that I want to enable. I want people to leave there having a great time, meeting new people, making new friends, and building a community. Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, you're putting positivity out into the world, and it's wonderful. And that's what I get out of all this.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're just being astute and observing what people are doing at your event, and you're capitalizing on the things that people seem to be enjoying. It's really that simple. As long as you're paying attention, being a good human, giving people what they want. It seems so simple. And in practice, it's much more challenging to execute on.
A community event, I'll tell you, is one of the hardest things to build, to get that hook and to get people to come year after year after year. That is incredibly hard. Yeah. And to get people to dedicate to you. I have people that don't know me that are dedicated to my event. Heck, in a lot of ways, more than me. They post up and they're just like, we're there every year and they love it. And I've never met these people. And it warms my heart to see that. One of my friends actually helped out with the event this year, and he helped out with a slip and slide this year. And he came to me during the event and he goes, Kraig, this is the best event best meet and greet yet. I love it. Even though the event had some big issues this year, and I'll tell you about that in a second. We had a major issue this year, but it still went off wonderful. People had a great time. But this good friend of mine came to me and he goes, I've had the most amount of fun at this event this year. And I had to sit him down and go, do you know why you had a great time? And let me explain. Because he helped out to do the slip and slide, and he was out there facilitating it, and he was having a great time, and everybody else having a great time. And I told him, I go, because everybody you did that for was having a great time, and you fed off that energy. And that's why. And that's what it is. It's feeding off other people's energy. People feed off my energy all the time. And that's what they talk about. I've got a lot of energy. And I know you haven't been around me before. You'll learn that. I mean, I bounce off walls. It's a lot of energy. And it's all about being positive. I can go negative or I can go positive. And being positive, people crave to be around you. And if they crave talking to you and want to be around you, they want to come to your event. They want to know what you're doing and what you're putting on. And one of the things I'm known for is doing something bigger and better, bigger and better, bigger and better. It's do something here. Next year we do it here. Next year we do it here and here and here. And people go, I want to know what you're doing next year.
Yeah. I wonder what next year is going to be like.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the hook to get people to come. And we try to add more and more. But as you do community events, it is incredibly hard. There are so many challenges. For example, this year, the lake we go to didn't have enough water to put a boat in.
Oh, shit.
Oh, damn.
So
yeah, that's a problem.
An event where you can't put a boat in the water.
Yeah.
It definitely hurt the event. And we're working through that. We're working on some changes and whatnot to help with that. But that was the big stress. Like you talked about, Josh, here a few minutes ago about you're dealing with what comes crashing down. A sponsor doesn't show up or whatever. The biggest thing for me that could have ever happened this year. Yeah. And that was water was gone.
Not enough water.
Yeah. And we can't put a boat on the water. Yeah. It was an astronomical. I had sponsors go, we're not coming now. We're out. I had people cancel, but 99% of the people still said, we don't care. We're still coming. Mm-hmm. And that said a lot to me about the event. Now, people were able to go to other lakes in the area and have a great day of boating, but they couldn't do it at the location. And, but to do what I do, there's one, maybe two places in all of Colorado that you can do what I do. You can't go to like a state parks and set up a concert stage at Water's Edge and put on a party that goes into the evening. It can't happen. Larimer County, you can't do that. Government agencies and whatnot and rangers and all that shut all that stuff down. And I get it. So we have a county that works with us. And that's another point that I touch on with events is having a government or the controlling entities work with you is so big. They can shut you down or they can make it all happen. So, and we've worked 18 years, to make that happen and develop those relationships. And it hasn't always been good. I have an entity that tried to put me in jail at one point because of it for 6 months for camping. And it blows the mind what I've worked through. And I always talk about, if you're going to do a community event, you can't always outsource stuff. You got to put the work in and you got to do it yourself because people believe in you. And as long as they believe in you, they will continue to attend your event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's strong. Yeah. And things are going to go wrong all the time. But if you are putting the effort in and people are doing it for you, then the worst that you're thinking is going to happen in your brain is not going to happen because people are here, again, for you, like you said, not necessarily for the event, not necessarily for the boats or the water, but for you and what you believe in. So I think that's a valuable takeaway here from this conversation is, stay true to yourself, work hard, put the effort in, listen to what people want and do it for the community. In kind of like wrapping things up and wrapping up this conversation, I'd love to get just a few of maybe 3 of the most important things that you found were helpful for you that we can maybe learn from and kind of as like a takeaway here.
You bet.
Yeah.
1, dedication. Be dedicated to what you want to do and what you want to achieve. That's the biggest thing. All too often people, they get a great idea. They get excited. They get that energy and then it just dies because they don't put the dedication into it. 2, energy. Have the positive energy. Put that out in the world. Put that towards people. Be a salesman and be a salesman of yourself. You are your own worst critic, but you're also your own salesman. And 3, put the time in yourself. It takes time. Like I made a comment, I've been doing the MileHigh Meet Greet for 18 years, since 2005. And we had to take 1 year off, of course, in 2020, COVID. Obviously, there's nothing we could do about that. Mm-hmm. But the Meet and Greet hasn't been a moneymaker It hasn't been that. That's not what it's about 100%. Does it need to make money? You bet. You got to have that to survive. But there's so much more to it. I know in a lot of your guys' podcasts and a lot for people, it's about money, and it's about mental health, and it's about finances, and it's about just wealth and stuff like that. But there's so much more to that when it comes to wealth and the aspect of mental health and social and being accepted by others, but being positive for others because they crave you. So 3 things: 1, dedication, energy, and put the work in no matter how much time it takes.
I love that. That's a phenomenal,
awesome.
that's a phenomenal way to close out the episode. And, I think especially that last point, if you're always focused on the money, then you're forgetting about what you started doing it for. You're forgetting about the community. So focus on your purpose and dedicate the time and the energy to do it yourself. That was amazing. Kraig, you've got a ton of energy, like you said. I feel like we could talk to you forever. Like I'm feeding off of your energy today. So I really appreciate you giving that to me. I know our listeners are going to want to learn more about you. We're definitely going to come to the meetup. So why don't you give yourself the plug before you take off and let us know where we can find you, where we can find the meetup, where we can learn more about it, and see you there next year.
You bet. You bet. So we are the MileHigh Meet and Greet. You can find us on Facebook, MileHigh, MileHigh, Meet and Greet. So find us on Facebook. And then I want to give a plug to my new company that I started. It's called Party Tub Social. This is a whole nother aspect. It is a 16-person mobile hot tub platform with music and lighting. We are pushing that right now. That's my new business endeavor. So we've just launched that and got it off the ground. And so I'd love you guys to check that out. It's partytubsocial.com. So please check that out and come on out to the MileHigh Meet and Greet for next year. We'll be announcing some big plans here in January or February. So like us on Facebook to stay up to date.
Awesome, man. That sounds great. And I'm definitely going to see you out there next year. I can't wait. I got my wakeboard here in Austin. I'm going to bring it back to Colorado when I head back. So Kraig, man, thank you so much for a phenomenal and energetic conversation. Thank you to everybody who's listened. I hope that you learned a little bit about how you can improve your ability to show up for yourself, for your community, for your people. And we will see y'all next week.